जाह्नवी तटवने जगमनलो बाजा जगमनलो शिवदके निताय चा वमे गदधार शिवदके धार शिवदके निताय चा वमे गदधार शिवदके नीतते अद्वैताशिनी वसाच प्रधाराणि नीतते अद्वैताशिनी वसाच प्रधाराणि बसे रथ गौराचा रत्ना सिंहासने बसे रथ गौराचा रत्ना सिंहासने बसे आरती तारे नाम ब्रह्म आदि देवगाने आरती ब्रह्म आदि देवगाने शिवनरा रे दे कमरे समरडुलाया शिवन शिवनरा रे दे तोरे समरडुलाया शिवन संजया मुकुंद वसु दोषादिगाय संग संजया मुकुंद वसु दोषादिगाय संग शिव शंकर बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे करताल शिव शंकर शिव शंकर बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे करताल शिव शंकर मधुरा मृदंगा बाजे परमरसाल Madhuram Bhaje Paramarasala Mother, 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 Orange, Atika Shoba, Jaga Janamana Loba, Orange, Jaga Janamana Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo Babaho Koti Chandra Jini Vadana Jwala Ke Baba Jwala Ke Baba Ho Koti Chandra Jini Vadana Jwala Ke Baba Nala dese vana mala kore dala mala dala dese vana mala kore dala mala Shiva Bahu Shiva Shiva Shukana Radha Preme Gada Gada Shiva Shiva Shukana Radha Preme Gada Gada Shiva Bhakati Vinoda Deke Gaurara Sampada Bhakati Vinoda Deke Gaurara Sampada Gaurara Sampada Shiva Jaya Jaya Kande Arati Koshoba Shiva Jaya Janavitavane Jagamanano Bhaja Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Sri Krishna Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Jaya Shri Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Please sing loudly. Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Hare, Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Govinda Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Govinda Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Radha Ram Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Radha Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Nitai Gauranga Bolo Nitai Gauranga Nitai Nitai Gauranga Bolo Nitai Gauranga Nitai 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 Gauranga Nitai Nitai Gauranga Nitai 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 Gauranga Nitai 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 Gauranga Jaya Sachinandana Jaya Sachinandana Jaya Sachinandana Jaya Sachinandana Jaya Sachinandana Gaura Hari Jaya Sachinandana Gaura Hari Patita Pavana Gaura Hari Patita Pavana Hari Jaya Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Swami Jaya Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Jagannath Swami Nayana Padagami Nayana Padagami Bhavatumi Jagan Jaya Radha Shama Sundar Radha Shama Sundar Radha Jaya Radha Shama Sundar Radha Shama Sundar Shri Radhe Jaya Sundar Shri Radhe Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gaurani, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram. Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan. Jaya Pancha Tattva Jaya Pancha Tattva Pancha Tattva Jaya Pancha Tattva Jaya Pancha Tattva Jaya Pancha Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Prabhupada, 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 Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Gaur Premanande, Janitai Gaur Premanande.
Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parikacharya Asatar Sasati Shiva Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavini ki jai. Namachara Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shampun Radhakun Gita Govardhanti. Prem Shri Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhakti Ki. Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi ki. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki, Ganga Mai ki, Jamuna Mai ki, Vrindavan ki, Mayapur Dham ki, Jagannath Puri ki, Transcendental Book Distribution ki, Hari Nam Sankirtan ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees, and all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga.
बच्चे लोग नहीं कोई नहीं है कोई दिख नहीं रहा है Namaste Narasimhaya Prahlad Daine Hiranyakasi Purvakshaha Tilatanka Nakhalaye ito nrsimha parato nrsimha ito nrsimha parato nrsimha yato yato yami tato nrsimha yato yato yami tato nrsimha Vahe nrsimha hridaye nrsimha Vahe nrsimha hridaye nrsimha Vahe nrsimha hridaye nrsimha Narasimhamadim saranam prapade Narasimhamadim saranam prapade Avakar kamalavare nakam adbhuta sringam Dalita hiranyakasipu anumringa Etabadrita narari rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya ke sabadrita narahari rupa Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Narasimha Dev Jaya Narasimha Dev Jaya Narasimha Dev Jaya Narasimha Dev Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj विघ्न विनाशक नरसिंह देव भगवान की बख्शेश प्रहलाद महाराज की गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि
You are not registered, as long as they don't make sound, they can be here, otherwise reception or other side. And mute your cell phone. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mother.
Hare Krishna. Good evening, everyone. So, thank you. Mhm. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Shama Sundara Radha Shama Sundara Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Goranitai Jaya Goranitai Jaya Goranitai Jaya Goranitai. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Gaura Premanande Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. So thank you all so much for the opportunity to share some Krishna Katha and to read from Bhagavad Gita. Madhupati Prabhu had requested to go into, because right now we're in this unique moment where we're in between Gaura Purnima and Ram Navami. So Madhupati Prabhu had this idea of sharing the commonalities, some connection between Gaura Leela and Ram Leela. So we'll make our discussion around that today. Just wanted to ask, who can say what verse in the Bhagavad Gita? This is for my own benefit. I forgot to write down the verse number. So this is to what is it? I'm sorry, to liberate the pious and to annihilate the miscreants. I descend myself millennia after millennia. What? Thank you. Which verse number is that? 410? 410. Thank you so much. Okay. Yeah, 4:7. Thank you so much. As usual, carrying me. Thank you, Hare Krishna. So we'll start with this verse, and then we'll let that be kind of an entry point to the discussion. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijam yaham. Anyone would like to chant the shloka? Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijam yaham. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bharata abhyutanam dharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bharata abhyutanam dharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. Okay. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. Purport. The word Srijami is significant herein. Srijami cannot be used in the sense of creation, because according to the previous verse, there is no creation of the Lord's form or body, since all of the forms are eternally existent. Therefore, Srijami means that the Lord manifests himself as he is. Although the Lord appears on schedule, namely at the end of the Dwapara Yuga of the 28th millennium of the 7th Manu in one day of Brahma, he has no obligation to adhere to such rules and regulations because he is completely free to act in any way at his will. He therefore appears by his own will whenever there is a predominance of irreligiosity and a disappearance of true religion. Principles of religion are laid down in the Vedas, and any discrepancy in the matter of properly executing the rules of the Vedas makes one irreligious. In the Bhagavatam, it is stated that such principles are the laws of the Lord. Only the Lord can manufacture a system of religion. The Vedas are also accepted as originally spoken by the Lord himself to Brahma from within his heart. Therefore, the principles of Dharma or religion are the direct orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dharmam tu shakshad bhagavat pranitam. These principles are clearly indicated throughout the Bhagavad Gita. The purpose of the Vedas is to establish such principles under the order of the Supreme Lord, and the Lord directly orders at the end of the Gita that the highest principle of religion is to surrender unto him only and nothing more. The Vedic principles push one towards complete surrender unto him, and whenever such principles are disturbed by the demoniac, the Lord appears. From the Bhagavatam, we understand that Lord Buddha is the incarnation of Krishna, who appeared when materialism was rampant and materialists were using the pretext of the authority of the Vedas. Although there are certain restrictive rules and regulations regarding animal sacrifice for particular purposes in the Vedas, people of demonic tendency still took to animal sacrifice without reference to the Vedic principles. Lord Buddha appeared in order to stop this nonsense and to establish the Vedic principles of non-violence. Therefore, each and every avatar or incarnation of the Lord has a particular mission, and they are all described in the revealed scriptures. No one should be accepted as an avatar unless he is referred to by scriptures. It is not a fact that the Lord appears only on Indian soil. He can manifest himself anywhere and everywhere, and whenever he desires to appear. In each and every incarnation, he speaks as much about religion as can be understood by the particular people under their particular circumstances. But the mission is the same: to lead people to God consciousness and obedience to the principles of religion. Sometimes he descends personally, and sometimes he sends his bona fide representative in the form of his son or servant or himself in some disguised form. The principles of the Bhagavad Gita were spoken to Arjuna, and for that matter, to other highly elevated persons, because they were highly advanced compared to ordinary persons in other parts of the world. 2 + 2 = 4 is a mathematical principle that is true both in the beginner's arithmetic class and in the advanced class as well. Still, there are higher and lower mathematics. In all incarnations of the Lord, therefore, the same principles are taught, but they appear to be higher and lower in varied circumstances. The higher principles of religion begin with the acceptance of the 4 orders and the 4 statuses of social life, as will be explained later. The whole purpose of the mission of incarnations is to arouse Krishna consciousness everywhere. Such consciousness is manifest and non-manifest only under different circumstances. I'll just briefly read from this next verse: to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to reestablish the principles of religion. I myself appear millennium after millennium. And in one section here, Srila Prabhupada shares, as far as the atheistic are concerned, it is not necessary for the Supreme Lord to appear as he is to destroy them, as he did with the demons Ravana and Kamsa. The Lord has many agents who are quite competent to vanquish demons, but the Lord especially descends to appease his unalloyed devotees, who are always harassed by the demoniac. The demon harasses the devotee, even though the latter may happen to be his kin. And so Srila Prabhupada goes on to share, the Lord says that he incarnates himself in every millennium. This indicates that he incarnates also in the age of Kali. As stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the incarnation in the age of Kali is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who spread the worship of Krishna by the Sankirtan movement, congregational chanting of the holy names, and spread Krishna consciousness throughout India. He predicted that this culture of Sankirtan would be broadcast all over the world, from town to town and village to village. Lord Chaitanya, as the incarnation of Krishna, the personality of Godhead, is described secretly, but not directly, in the confidential parts of the revealed scriptures, such as the Upanishads, Mahabharata, and Bhagavatam. The devotees of Lord Krishna are very much attracted by the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya. This avatar of the Lord does not kill the miscreants, but delivers them by his causeless mercy. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yata Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtatirishtarine. So before we begin, I'd just like to sincerely seek everyone's blessings and well wishes that we can have a meaningful and uplifting, inspiring discussion, and that it can somehow be pleasing to the devotees. So thank you for all of your blessings. Okay, so these two verses emphasize that Krishna appears at different times for different reasons. And he can come as he likes. He tends to correspond with when there is a rise in irreligion and a decline in true religion. And sometimes this corresponds with particular periods of time, like a day of Brahma or a yuga. But it's explained here by Srila Prabhupada that Krishna is fully independent and he can appear anytime he likes under any circumstance. So we emphasize these two verses because especially in that second verse, Srila Prabhupada mentions Lord Ram and Lord Chaitanya in the same purport. And he's describing how while Lord Ram appears to kill Ravana. In particular, he enacts this vanquishing the demon Ravana. Lord Chaitanya also appears to vanquish demons, but he doesn't do it in this same heroic way that we see in Lord Ram, where he's directly battling a demon. Lord Chaitanya is directly battling demons, but it's more subtle, that he's actually battling the demoniac mentality within each and every one of us. And how is he doing that? What are his weapons? So Lord Ram, we all know his weapons are the bow and arrow. He's famous in this way. But Lord Chaitanya, his weapon is Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nasteva, 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 Gatir Anyata. So in this way, there's no other way but to chant the holy name. And he's spreading this joyful process of chanting the holy name, which is effectively killing the demoniac behavior and mentality within everyone's heart. And also his weapons can be described as the kartals, the mridanga, the kirtan, and also his associates. So we'll just get into some details here of the commonalities and some interesting synchronicity that we can see in the pastimes of Lord Ram and Lord Chaitanya. So Rama, of course, is celebrated as an exemplar of Dharma, that he personifies Dharma and he demonstrates Dharma to the utmost degree. And that he's coming from a dynasty, this Raghu dynasty, that is exemplifying Dharma at all times. So Maharaj Dasarat, the father of Lord Ram, he's also exemplifying Dharma in the sense that Kaikeyi requests that you should offer me this boon whenever I like. And though he and all of the Ayodhyavasis are very displeased with what Kaikeyi requests, that he be banished to the forest for 14 years and that Bharat be placed upon the throne. Maharaj Dasarat is not pleased with this, but at the same time, because he is dharmic, he accepts, yes, I made this promise, I must therefore honor it. And Lord Ramachandra himself, on this principle of dharma, accepts, yes, I must go to the forest for 14 years. He doesn't argue, he doesn't push back, he just accepts it. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, rather than being an exemplar of Dharma in this particular way, he is an exemplar of Dharma, but he's the exemplar of the Yuga Dharma, the Kali Yuga Dharma, which is Harinam Sankirtan. So he's exemplifying that anytime, anywhere, anyone can fill their lips with the holy name. And in this way, regardless of caste, social status, background, anything, anyone can engage in the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. So he's exemplifying for everyone, please, please chant. And he went through all the towns and villages chanting this Harinam and exemplifying Yuga Dharma. And in his Antya Lila, in the later portion of his pastimes, he also does exemplify another kind of Dharma, which he exemplifies sannyas Dharma very strictly, because he takes sannyas from his sannyas guru, Keshava Bharati. And in this way, he did this for the purpose of, in this prevailing society at that time, he knew that people would respect him more and listen to his message more attentively if he just had this, we can say on some level, external status of being a sannyasi. So but he took it very seriously. And it's very interesting because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, he says his own words, Naham Vipro Nacha Narapatir Napi Vaishyo Nashudro Naham Varni Nacha Grihapatir No Yanasto Yatirva Kintu Prodyan Nikila Paramananda Purnamritab there Gopi Bartuhu Padakamalayur Dasa Das Anudasa. So the translation of this is, I am not a Brahmana, I am not a Kshatriya, I am not a Vaishya or a Shudra, nor am I a Brahmachari, a householder, a Vanaprastha, or a sannyasi. I identify myself only as the servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, the maintainer of the gopis. He is like an ocean of nectar, and he is the cause of universal transcendental bliss. He is always existing with brilliance. So in his beautiful words, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving the essence that beyond all of the varnas and ashrams, our eternal position is das das anudas, that we are the servant of the servant of the servant. So nevertheless, for his particular reasons, he had his own reasons, sannyas dharma, particularly in the later portion of his pastimes. So meanwhile, he encounters Sri Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who is the most prominent scholar in Bengal at that time. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is also senior to Mahaprabhu in age. He's a very established scholar. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, when he first sees this young, effulgent sannyasi, he asks, who is this? Who is this? And he says, who is his guru? And we have Gopinath Acharya, who is the brother-in-law of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who actually already knows the true identity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so he shares, yes, he's initiated by his sannyas guru is Keshava Bharati, but this is actually the supreme person. This is Krishna himself. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya initially is not so convinced. And he actually says, oh, Keshava Bharati, he's kind of like a second-class guru. Maybe we can get him initiated into our sampradaya. He seems to be a very bright young sannyasi. Maybe we can get him initiated into our sampradaya. And Gopinath Acharya is very upset by this. And he says, no, he's the supreme Lord. He doesn't need any sampradaya. If he doesn't need a sampradaya, why are we concerned about this? So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is still a little doubtful. And he says, actually, it's Kali Yuga right now, isn't it? You know, looking at his watch, it's Kali Yuga. So the Lord is known as Tri Yuga in some circles, that he appears in Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, and Dwapara Yuga, but no Kali Yuga. So if the Lord is Tri Yuga, how can this be the Supreme Lord? So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is still impressed with him nevertheless, as a scholar, as a young, brilliant sannyasi. But he says, maybe I can help him. Maybe I can give him some transcendental knowledge. So they begin this beautiful exchange of spiritual knowledge. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya starts to share. And I forget exactly for how long he shares. 7 days. 7 days he shares. And Mahaprabhu says, okay, I'm listening. And he sits, takes it all in. And particularly there's some discussion of this verse that's known the Atmaram verse. And so after patiently listening, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then says, okay, with your permission, dear sir, I will now share. And he goes on to share so many different angles of this Atmaram shloka. This one shloka, he shares every conceivable angle. And he didn't even touch any of the angles that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya gave himself. So that at this point, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is taken aback. And this whole exchange captures his heart. And he ultimately surrenders to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He recognizes that he is indeed the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And at this moment, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu awards Sri Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya by revealing his Sadbhuj form, six-limbed form. And this six-limbed form, this darshan, special darshan, just like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna reveals himself to Arjuna in a particular way in the 11th chapter, universal form, or he reveals himself to Mother Yashoda when he's eating clay and she looks inside his mouth. He shows her also this cosmic vision. So sometimes Krishna will reveal himself in a very custom way for a particular devotee. So for Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he shows this Sadbhuj Mahaprabhu form. So he's carrying in his 6 arms, the top pair of arms, he's holding bow and arrow, like Lord Ramachandra. And then in the center arms, he's holding the flute, like Shamsundar Krishna. And then in the lower set of arms, he's showing his own identity as a sannyasi at this time. He's holding the sannyas danda and the water pot, kamandalu. So in this way, he's demonstrating to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, yes, I am all of this, right? So in this way, we can also see that these forms, though appearing for different purposes and having different qualities, they are all the same Supreme Lord. So another example in Gaura Lila, where we see the touch of Ram Lila, is Murari Gupta. Murari Gupta was a follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was his physician, actually, as a doctor. And he is a Ram Bhakta. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu generally was not preaching Ram Bhakti. He was preaching Krishna Bhakti. So he kind of had this loving exchange with Murari Gupta. And I'll share a little bit of this. This is coming from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then embraced Murari Gupta and began to speak about his firm faith in devotional service. This was heard by all the devotees. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Previously, I induced Murari Gupta again and again to be allured by Lord Krishna. I said to him, 'My dear Gupta, Lord Sri Krishna Rajendra Kumar is the supreme sweetness. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, the origin of all incarnations and the source of everything. He is pure transcendental love itself, and he is the reservoir of all pleasure. Krishna is the reservoir of all transcendental qualities. He is like a mine of gems. He is expert at everything, very intelligent and sober, and he is the summit of all transcendental humors. His character is very sweet, and his pastimes are melodious. He is expert in intelligence, and thus he enjoys all his pastimes and mellows." So he's painting such a beautiful picture of all of the divine qualities of Krishna for Murari Gupta. Mahaprabhu goes on to say, "I then requested Murari Gupta, worship Krishna and take shelter of him. But for his service, nothing appeals to the mind. In this way, he heard from me again and again. By my influence, his mind was a little converted." Murari Gupta then replied, "I am your servant and your order carrier. I have no independent existence." But this is the interesting part of this pastime. After this, Murari Gupta went home and spent the whole night thinking how he would have to give up the association of Raghunath, Lord Ramachandra. Thus, he was overwhelmed. Murari Gupta then began to pray at the lotus feet of Lord Ramachandra. He prayed that death would come that night because it was not possible to give up the service of the lotus feet of Raghunath. Thus, Murari Gupta cried the entire night. There was no rest for his mind. Therefore, he could not sleep, but stayed awake the entire night. In the morning, Murari Gupta came to see me. Catching hold of my feet and crying, he submitted an appeal. Murari Gupta said, "I have sold my head unto the lotus feet of Raghunath. I cannot withdraw my head, for that would give me too much pain. It is not possible for me to give up the service of Raghunath's lotus feet. At the same time, if I do not do so, I shall break your order. What can I do?" In this way, Murari Gupta appealed to me, saying, "You are all merciful, so kindly grant me this mercy. Let me die before you so that all my doubts will be finished." Hearing this, Mahaprabhu was saying, I became very happy. I then raised Murari Gupta and embraced him. I said to him, "All glories to you, Murari Gupta. Your method of worship is very firmly fixed, so much so that even upon my request, your mind did not turn. The servitor must have love and affection for the lotus feet of the Lord, exactly like this. Even if the Lord wants separation, a devotee cannot abandon the shelter of his lotus feet. Just to test your firm faith in your Lord, I requested you again and again to change your worship from Lord Ramachandra to Krishna. In this way, I congratulated Murari Gupta, saying, indeed, you are the incarnation of Hanuman. Consequently, you are the eternal servant of Lord Ramachandra. Why should you give up the worship of Lord Ramachandra and his lotus feet?" When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, "I accept this Murari Gupta as my life and soul. When I hear of his humility, it perturbs my very life." So Mahaprabhu is completely enamored with the deep, deep devotion of Murari Gupta, regardless of whether it's Ramachandra or Krishna. He's testing his devotion. He's imploring him, you should be devoted to Krishna. But Murari Gupta sincerely places his heart at Mahaprabhu's lotus feet and says, I can't. I just have too much attraction, too much of a connection to Sri Ram. So in this way, Mahaprabhu completely accepts him. And in doing so also is revealing his eternal form in Ram Leela as none other than Hanuman. There's one other example we can share from Gaura Leela. Sri Rupa and Sanatan Goswamis had a brother named Vallabha or Anupama, with whom they had made a pact to spend their lives together worshiping Radha Govinda. But the night after making the pact, Anupama could not sleep at all because his true attraction was for Ram Leela. In the morning, he told his two brothers, Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, our 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. He told his two brothers his dilemma, and when Mahaprabhu heard this, he said, glorious is that devotee who would not give up his Lord, and glorious is that Lord who would not give up his devotee. He was very, very satisfied to hear that kind of devotion. So we see here in these tellings from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes that though we are encouraged to predominantly worship Sri Krishna, and in our particular tradition, actually, we're worshiping Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nevertheless, it's understood as a spiritual principle that we all have our Ishta Devata, and that may be revealed to us over time, the form of the Lord within the heart that each person has their deepest attraction to. So in these cases, in the case of Sri Anupam and in the case of Murari Gupta, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did honor this because he saw how deep and how strong their bhakti was, how deep and strong their devotion was. And, what can you say? It was already perfected. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased to see this devotion. So in the same way, we can understand that when we're celebrating these different appearances of the Lord, they adhere to the same principle, that how merciful is Krishna, that he appears in so many different ways at different times for the benefit of all of the suffering living entities, and also to perform very unique pastimes according to time, place, and circumstance. These different forms facilitate different loving exchanges and different pastimes that capture our hearts even upon reading them again and again. So in this way, this is one of the glories of the Supreme Lord, that he's Ananta Rupam, Ananta Rupam. He has unlimited forms in which he appears. Of course, we're encouraged to focus upon Krishna as the Supreme Lord, but at the same time, we do celebrate the different incarnations in which he appears. So in this age, the Lord comes with unique weapons, as we said, his associates and the holy names. So another weapon is his beauty. And this is explained by Sri Jiva Goswami, that when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, also his beauty was just such that it was conquering hearts left and right. And regardless of someone's background, no matter how hard-hearted they were, when they saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when they heard him chanting the holy name, their hearts were completely transformed. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go and embrace people as he went chanting the holy name. And in those moments, they received pure love of Krishna. So how incredible, right? That there's this deep mercy in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, mercy that's so deeply needed in Kali Yuga, the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. We need mercy. We really need mercy. So in this way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is just freely giving the highest love of God, the highest goal, and such a simple process. It's said in the scriptures that Kali Yuga is actually considered to be worshipable. Seems strange, right? But the reason why is because in this age, we can so easily approach the Supreme Lord just by simply chanting. And in this way, by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, we are making swift movements toward the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of Srila Prabhupada, of our acharyas who give this process, and also by the mercy of the holy name itself. Holy name is a form of the Lord that is so accessible. Any one of us at any moment can chant the holy name, and he's there. So in this way, we see the very special mercy for Kali Yuga. And like unlike Lord Ramachandra killing Ravana, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is vanquishing, as we spoke in the beginning, our demoniac nature, our demoniac mentality. And there's so many beautiful celebrated examples of this. So Jagai and Madai, they're the worst criminals at that time. They're committing so many horrible actions, really painful, terrible things. And Madai goes to throw a clay pot, and he throws a clay pot and it hits the head of Lord Nityananda and cuts his head open. And Lord Chaitanya learns of this, and he, for a moment there, forgets that in this age, in Kali Yuga, that his weapon is the holy name. He brings out the Sudarshan Chakra, and he's prepared to kill Jagai and Madai. Lord Nityananda begs, my Lord, no, this is not what we're here for. This is not this age. Please show them your mercy. And he does. And Jagai and Madai, see, we can say on some level that they are killed, but they're not killed like we would expect in other leelas. They're killed by becoming great devotees. Now they are celebrated as great devotees of the Lord. In the same way, Chankazi, who was the government, sort of magistrate of the local government at that time, he was very much against the Sankirtan movement, and he smashed the mridangas of the devotees, and he was so angry to see the devotees chanting. Yet, in time, by association with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was completely captured, and he also became a great devotee of the Lord. And now, even to this day, the samadhi of Chankazi is there, and he's celebrated as a great Vaishnava. So in this way, we can see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is killing demons, but it's in his very, very merciful. His quality is audarya, compassion. And so in this Kali Yuga, that's what he is offering. And that's how he's transforming our demoniac mentality one by one. And the mood of separation, we can just say as a point, the mood of separation we see in both of these Leelas, Ram Leela and Gora Leela. This mood of separation. So in Ram Leela, we see the separation between Sita and Ram. When Sita is kidnapped by Ravana, Rama is feeling the deepest separation. So this loving separation between them is basically the fuel for their whole quest to seek Sita and to defeat Ravana. It's this loving separation that is fueling them as they go through this very arduous journey for 14 years through the forest, so many obstacles. And also the separation, of course, of the Ayodhya Vasis, when Lord Ram is away from them for all that time. Bharat, though he agrees to take the throne, the brother of Ramachandra, he just places Lord Ram's sandals on the throne, basically saying, this is just a placeholder. We're waiting for Lord Ram to come back. So together, collectively, all of the Ayodhya Vasis were experiencing this deep separation. And of course, we celebrate when Lord Ram returned to Ayodhya. Everyone was lighting the path and celebrating in every way possible. So we see this mood of separation throughout Ram Leela. We also see it in Gora Leela. The way that we see it in Gora Leela is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu within himself, this very, very deep mood of separation, because he's Krishna himself, but he's appearing in the mood of Srimati Radharani. So Srimati Radharani, in this way, as a devotee, he's experiencing the separation of the Supreme Lord, wishing for that connection, though he's Krishna himself. So this is the mood that he shared with everyone, and he shared it with his followers, and that's what came through his Sankirtan movement, this mood of loving separation. So just to sort of conclude, we appreciate bhakti. We appreciate devotion wherever we see it, but we also may have our own flame that's burning within us. So we have devotion to Krishna, but when we hear Ram Leela, it also fuels that fire within us. When we hear Gora Leela, it also fuels that fire within us. So in this way, by hearing all of the beautiful, incredible pastimes of the Supreme Lord in so many different forms, so many different appearances, so many special qualities, we try to seek that mercy through the processes of bhakti, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, by hearing the pastimes, by sharing them, by chanting, and by remembering the Lord. In this way, hopefully our bhakti lata bija, the plant of devotion within us, is being nourished, is being watered, is growing slowly but surely, or sometimes very quickly. I can speak for myself slowly, but that's how it is, that these pastimes really nourish our devotion in so many ways. So how wonderful that Krishna has provided so many incredible pastimes. He's enacted these pastimes, and now we get to remember them. We get to experience them time and again, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, by the mercy of the devotees. So the point of narrating these stories is to understand that these forms of the Lord, they are absolute, though they are different. And Krishna appears in so many ways to uplift the living entities, and also to enjoy himself for all of these different varieties of loving exchange and connection. Krishna loves variety. So we all have a unique relationship with Krishna, and by the worship of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we receive such mercy that we are awakened to our relationship with the Supreme Lord. And finally, we can just chant together that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also liked to chant one song in ecstasy. And when he was going through difficulty, when he was going through the Jarikanda forest, he chanted this one bhajan, I'm sure you've all heard, and it mentions Lord Rama as well. So that's, we know that? Krishna, 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 Hey. Krishna, 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 Hey. Krishna, 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 Rakshamam. Krishna, 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 Pahimam. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshamam. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Pahimam. Krishna, 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 Hey. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is chanting, "O Lord Krishna, please protect me and maintain me. O Lord Rama, descendant of King Raghu, please protect me. O Krishna, O Keshava, killer of the Keshi demon, please maintain me." So as we approach Ram Navami, we can also have this same spirit that we can offer prayers to Lord Ram, and also simultaneously remember the deep mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that is keeping us going day in and day out. So thank you all so much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, and would love to hear anyone's thoughts, reflections, questions. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Akhilesh Krishna Prabhu. Hare Bol.
Your simplicity was, evident in your lecture. Thank you. I have a question on Chandakaji. Was he initiated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and was he given Vaishnava name as well?
Honestly, I don't know. I do think that he was initiated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in terms of surrendering fully to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted him. But I don't know necessarily if there was a Vaishnava name given to him. And maybe some devotees know. I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
But certainly, as far as his heart was concerned, he was fully surrendered to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and also fully accepted by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
So I was a little bit confused when you were talking about I forgot his name, like
Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya.
So he said that the Lord was only there for like 3 yugas, yet he was there for 4 yugas. So how does that work? Why is that name still there?
Very beautiful question. Thank you so much. Amazing question. Amazing question. So the way that we understand this, and I'd love to hear the thoughts of the devotees also, that Krishna appears that we have, the description of Krishna appearing in Satya Yuga. So like, for example, Matsya Avatar is there in Satya Yuga, among others, right? But then Treta Yuga is generally when Lord Ram is considered to have appeared. Dwapara Yuga is when Krishna is considered to have appeared. But in Kali Yuga, we just don't find that scriptural reference explicitly. We don't find that strong indication in the scriptures. It's more hidden. Sometimes Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is referred to as a hidden avatar. They say Gupta avatar, that he is not always counted among the avatars of Krishna because his appearance is very confidential and special. So in this way, that name may be there, but the understanding for the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the understanding that's even given in Srimad Bhagavatam, there's one shloka that explains that Krishna appears at different times and in different colors for different reasons. And it says in one point that he appears in a golden color. And among the other incarnations of Krishna, we don't find one who has a golden color. So in that way, that's referring also to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I hope that's helpful. It's mysterious. It is mysterious. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Shri Shri Radha Murari Radha Damasundar Dev ki jai. Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Mai ki jai. Varnitai ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
We're not done yet. Any other questions?
No, any other questions, thoughts? Thank you very much, Srila Prabhupada ki